In this video help tutorial, we're on the Company Asset Management screen. In the overview, that would be this button in the Application Navigation screen. This would take you back to the Application Navigation screen. We're going to be covering from top left to lower right. We're going to start out by this button here, which is new if you haven't seen it yet. This is the Do Action button, and what this does is when you're in the application, there are a number of application buttons that could have been arranged around the screen, but it does clutter it up. So what we've done is contain them into what's called a popover. These screen buttons over here are similar to that. These are also popovers. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one are all popovers. What they do is they display additional information that if it was put on the screen, all in the same screen, either we'd have to use tabs, which would be a tab interface, or what we can do is we can use it this way where it pops up and shows you information, and then all you have to do is either click back on the button or any open space on the side of the screen or tap when you're on the iPad or iPhone to clear it off the screen. Let's take a look at the Do Action button so we can get familiar with what the functions are that are there. Let's start off by saying though that this is a parent record. And what does that mean? It is one of the main records in the application. When you're in a parent record, you'll notice that there is an Add Record button. Any screen that is not a parent record would not have this button and therefore would be a subscreen to the parent, or what's called a child record. Typically in a child record, there's supporting information for this main screen here, with this being the primary screen. These screens over here that are in the popovers are subscreens or child screens. So as you're using the application, these actually can have information either edited in them or added to them, and they will be recreated in another one of the different screens that are listed in the app navigation. You can come back to this screen to see all that information, and you do not have to navigate to these screens to edit the screens or add records. We'll cover each one individually so you understand how they're actually used. Looking at the Do functions on this screen, we have the Add Record button like we talked about. Then we have a thing called Start Search and Perform Search. What this does is when you click on the Start Search, it empties out all the fields in this area and allows you, if you have a good memory, to remember something that you want to put into those. For example, in this case it's a date or it is a purchase from. So the header at the top also helps you figure out what is in those spaces. And in some cases, if you do not have data in the field and it's prompting you for it, you'll see in light gray, you'll see the information that is supposed to go into the screen. All these fields have pretty much a little gray thing in the back that tells you what's supposed to go in those to prompt you for the data that you need to put in those records. In the search, what it basically does is it allows you to look for a specific record by any field or combination of fields. So if I put in there a purchase date and I wanted to find out all the records that had that purchase date, and then I did the Start Find Search first and then the Perform Search, it will find all those records that account for those. And there will be a thing at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to click on this and show you this little target button down here that's on the iPad and iPhone. When you click on it, it'll tell you how many records there are in the application and how many are not currently in the found set, which is this set over here. Right now the application is brand new and it's only got one record for examples. And over here, if there were more records in that, and this was the only one now where a search was done, it would show all the omitted records and the count of them over here. Looking down here, you can see there's a total of one record in the application right now, and this is record 1, and it's sorted. So it's 1 of 1. If it were a number of records, like this is the number 1 record of 20, then it'd be 1 of 20. If you want to omit a record that you're viewing so that it takes it out of the current found set, you would click on Omit This Record, which is this button, and what it'll do is it'll omit the record, meaning that it's going to take it out of the current record selection. If you want to move back and forth, you can click on these arrows here. It'll move between the records using these. And the nice little thing here is called Show Omitted. What Show Omitted does, it shows only the omitted records. So if you omitted 1 to the number of records, or you did a search and you hit Show Omitted, it'll show you everything that was not in the search. So that's a practical way to use it. And down here, where you can say Previous and Next, this moves between the fields. As you click in there, you'll always see this available to you to go to Previous, Next, or you can go to the top of the record, to the topmost field in the record. These two icons here are not used. I recommend that you never use these because all the actions that you need to do are in the do action for the functions that are available to you in this application. When you're done looking at this particular screen information, you hit done if you want to take it down, or if you're looking at a keyboard, you can tap in the drop keyboard and it'll take it off the screen. If you have something on your clipboard, you can copy and paste using this button. And if you're adding text, it'll give you some alternative text if you want to type something in that will allow you to tap right on these right here and put that information into the field. You can also bold a field or you can underline it. And then if you want to hide this, you click here and it hides the bottom part. And if you wanted to get rid of all of this, you could click on the done. Or if you're in a multiple set of records, you'll see these light colored gray arrows. Well, they will be illuminated if there are a number of records in selection, and you can move back and forth between records here. Or you can go up to the do action button always, and you go to the first, next, prior, last. And if you have records in selection and there are not all of them in selection, you can say show all records. It'll bring back all the records and display all the records. This is a great thing to have when you're in a list view and you want to return all the records to the current view and bring all the found set forward so that all the records are showing. The omit record is like the one you saw on the bottom of the screen. If you click in any field on this record and then hit omit, it will omit the record. If you're in a list view and there are rows of records, whatever record has the cursor is the one that will be omitted. Then show omitted only brings back all the omitted records. Then if you're going to print a record, now I recommend that you have to consider that if this screen is going to be printed, only from the top down to about this location over here would be printed if you print it. This is equal to an 8.5 by 11 page when you're actually printing on the print screens. So you have to be aware that it's always going to be the upper left-hand corner all the way down to the lower left where the end of that information is going to be shown. You can always do a test print when you say print setup. You can see in the print setup what printers you're using and how the printer is set up as far as the information that you need to set up for the printer. We'll be using these as I'm going through the application, so you'll get more information on how these are actually used. If you're exporting records, which we'll also cover, it'll show you how you can export any of the data that you see in this screen. Now, if you have a popover or a portal record, which is a multi-row information record, you cannot use either the search in there or you cannot use the export from this screen. You have to actually go to the screen that has a portal, for example, like this one. You would go to the portal, and then these two pieces of data, you could export those. If you're on a desktop, the cloud, or Windows or a PC, you can actually export and also import using this application. So for example, if I'm in there and I want to do an import, you'll see down here where it says import, not in iOS. iOS does not allow you to import because it's not set up with the capacity to import into an iPad. You can export from an iPad application or an iPhone, but you cannot import into them. Okay, the next one is developer support. This is an important one. If you have questions or you need support, you can go to the chat area and you can chat with us and figure out if you're having issues, how do you fix those. This one will close the popover you're currently viewing. By clicking on that, it'll hide everything that you're looking at. And now you can see that we're in a blank record. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say show all records. Go down to show all records, click on that, and it should bring back all the data. Now in this particular case, I think I deleted the record, but let's go ahead and walk our way through this so you can see that we do have the gray area for each individual field in here. And also let's talk about the popovers as we're going down through them. If you click on an asset image, you'll get an image in this area. The way to put an image in there is to tap on the record and then go out to the photos, clicking on photos. And in this particular case, I don't have anything in the photo library but a couple of odd pictures. But if I go in here and I say click on it, I can pick something and then tap on it and it's automatically put into this area. Let's go ahead and click off of it. You can see, like I stated before, you know what is supposed to go in the fields based on the information that's highlighted in gray. If you're if you're looking at an asset and it's going to be sold, now why would you do this? If you have an asset in your inventory of items as an end item and you're going to be selling it because it's either old or out of date, or you want to just get rid of it out of your company, this is the screen you would use over here. This popover would bring up the asset description, the asset sold date, the asset sold to for the information you sold to, the asset sold amount, the asset amount paid down, if it's a paid down type of situation where somebody's buying a large item, maybe it's a forklift and it's used from the warehouse and you're going to be selling it. Maybe they pay you $10,000, $15,000 down, and then the amount paid to date would be in here. And you got a different kind of keyboard for this area. You can notice that it's a numerical keyboard, so you can put in that data. If you want to put this down, go ahead and click on the done. Then you have the amount balance due. So what happens, as you sell an item, you would have the amount sold for what it was sold for, the amount that was paid down, and then as you collect money from the client, you would keep on adding it until it was equal to the amount sold for, and then it would give you zero balance at that point. If it's less than the total, then you'll get the balance in here that's due still. Let's take a look at the next one, user-defined fields. In this application, there are a large number of fields on this screen. But if you don't want to use the comments area to make a comment and you'd rather have something that's more permanent so that somebody won't edit it out of this area and it goes away, what you would do is you would go up and you use the user-defined fields, or UDF fields. Asset UDF fields up here, it says define a title field and a data field. This is the title field. What you would do is you would type in the title for the thing that you want to have in there. Maybe this asset has something special about it. Maybe it's something you want to put in so that the records indicate it. Like this might be a gas-powered item. And what does that have to do? Well, it's unsafe to have in the office because it might cause fumes or something else. So that would be in there, and obviously you could put in a data field that says what the item is. It's a forklift, gas-powered forklift or whatever. That's just an example. You can put virtually anything you want in as many fields as you want and realize that this record is always the same record, meaning that everything that's in these popovers will only be shown for this record that is here. So if you're adding data into this record, for example, then that would be the record for the data that you're using for this record. If you go to a new record and go to the next record, then the next record would have the related items for this record that you're viewing. Okay, the next one is the user-defined fields we did, sales company location. What this does when you click on it, if you have an address in here for the company that you bought it from, the sales location for this asset, then if you click on here, what it's going to do, it's going to bring up a map to get you directions right to the location where this item was purchased. So you would get the map, and the address that is in those fields would be here, and then it would pop down and show you the actual information right for that location on the city and so forth where it's at. So the location that you're looking for, when it's up here, also you have this information. If you click on the three bars up here in the corner, you can sign in to your own account if you have Google Maps. You can go see the traffic, transit, bicycle, and the satellite information. You can do your settings. Now these are the nice parts for you. If you create a map and you want to save it and then use it somewhere on another device, you can put it into your My Maps, and that way when you log into any of the other devices, that information would be on there in the Google Maps. And then you can send feedback to Google if you need to. Now this map will look a little different depending on what application you're using it at the time. So you might see things that are, say for example, if you're using it on a mobile device as opposed to a desktop, it's going to look a little different. Okay, so let's go back. What we've covered now is the next thing is the issue history. The issue history is each time this asset is issued to somebody, that information for that asset would be on here. The history ID is also an automatically added item, and it'll say autofill, as you can see down here. The next thing would be the asset issued date, return date, and issued to, and then the department where they're issued to, and any notes that you want to have about its issued. You can have an infinite number of records in here. This is a scrolling portal. As we stated before, you cannot search in these portals, but you can add a record and it will add it to the screen for that particular asset for the asset history. And if you want to view it in a portal, you would click on this button and see a larger view on the actual record within the sub or child record for that application screen. Okay, let's go back over here, and actually what we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit of an asset in here. We're going to say example asset. And what that does is it creates the record information as you type it in. As you move between each one of these fields, as I stated before, you can use that little bar at the bottom. If you click in a field, this will give you the ability to move between records. For example, if I click on this, it's going to bring back the record that I had all the data into over here. If I want to move back the other direction, I can go back to this area over here. So you can actually see now that I've got an additional record. And then if I wanted to go over here and say, for example, I wanted to look at the list view, I could say, show me the asset list view, and then it would show me the two records that are in there. Now, what happens is I've got a double ID, which is not a good situation. But in the test records, what I did is I put in a record, and I'll need to edit it so that this will be number 2, and then 3, and then 4 as new record assets are added. To go back into the record to view the records you want to see, pick the row that you're in, click here, and it'll take you back into that record. As you can see now, we have the full data in here. I had put example. In this case, we got a type of asset. Now this is a drop down. And what the drop down does is it allows you to pick from here. You could say, what kind of an item is this as far as the asset is concerned? And there actually is a place where you can go to the asset type. If you look over here, type asset right here. And clicking on that, you can edit that particular drop-down screen so that you can add or edit this to take out or add new things into that record. Be aware that once you start adding items into this and using them, do not edit them or delete them, because you will also delete them in the screen that you're working in. So you want to make sure that you leave whatever you're working with in the future so that you don't take them out. The next thing is the asset description. Now this is a straightforward thing you type in. And this is a subordinate item as far as the asset description is, in that this is the main item, and this is a kind of an ad lib short description of what that actual item is. You want to make this concise and short so that people know exactly what this asset is with a little more description, because this could be cryptic, because this is what the vendor uses, yet you need something that's a little bit more descriptive. The asset history in this case is the data was purchased, and these are drop downs. So if you click in here, you're going to get the scroller. And the scrollers kind of in some respects are not that good as far as the iPad and iPhone are concerned, because you're restricted to just what's in the scroller and you cannot edit the data in here. So for example, if I tapped back in there, I would always get the scroller again. If you're on a desktop or on a Mac or PC, you can click in there and actually add different things in here as far as a find. If you're in a find screen and you wanted to put, say, a range of dates in there, you could do that, but you can't do that on the iPad, unfortunately. Purchase from the company or person, in this case, the company and place where it was sold, and the person who actually you purchased it from. That could either be the salesman or a rep or somebody that's around. The sales company was the name of the sales company. The sales contact, if you had to call back as a sales contact person, you have that. The sales, by the way, you'll notice that some of these are looking truncated. That's because I'm using this on the desktop and shooting the videos here, and it does do some truncating as far as the image is concerned, as far as the field data. It's not going to show actually that way on the iPad itself or iPhone. Sales company address, the city in Phoenix, AZ, and then their zip code, and the sales company phone, and then the sales, this is for the email for the person as your contact up here. And then if you have a web address in here for their website and you click this button, it'll open the website so you can view the website. This is the asset details. This is a little bit more definitive about the item itself. Who manufactured it? What was the price you paid for it? What was the serial number of the item? Is it a plan account item, and what is the plan account ID? If it's a government asset, what is the government asset ID? If there's an asset assigned to, in this case we covered this before, is the person that it was assigned to, the assigned department in this case, and then any comments that need to be made in here that would cover the application information as far as that particular device, how it was applied, how it's being used, and so forth. Okay, this pretty much covers the company asset management screen. If you have any questions or you need assistance, contact us through, go over here to the action and go down and do developer support, and what that'll do is it'll take you directly to our support site where you can start a chat, or you can add an email or send it to us as far as any other questions you may have. The chat also allows you to put in your email address and have us contact you back. Thank you.